Ladies, you need to go find some shade. It's 90 degrees out here. Hey folks, so I am going to go harvest strawberries. But before I actually do that, I want to talk to you about strawberries and the absolutely horrific year it's been for that crop. Not to get too negative right away, but I mean, you got to show the good with the bad, and this year has been an epic fail on strawberries. Not because anything was wrong with my plants. I grew what I consider to be the best looking plants I've ever grown strawberry wise. My neighbor was out here with me in early mid April, and we were looking at this sea of green foliage and white flowers. It was gorgeous. I was looking at that saying, this is my best crop ever. Last year I had twice the number of beds, grew a really great crop, way too many. I said I'm gonna cut the number of beds in half. So about this point last year, it was well over 200 pounds harvested. This year, on half the beds, you think I'm a little over 100 pounds? I'm closer to 5 pounds. So long and the short of what happened with the strawberries this year, and we're going to get into some blackberry issue as well. In April, we have a drought going on here. That issue notwithstanding, my foliage never flagged. It was always very turgid, very vibrant. Some of the lower leaves died off and got a little bit burned, but by and large, nothing went limp. They never had an issue, even in the warmer part of the afternoons on the hot days. But here's what happened. In April, as the plants were setting their flowers, April 9th, morning of, 28 degrees, frost. Beat the heck out of my potatoes. Some have still recovered from that. Immediately following, like 48 hours later, bam, 3 days, 88, 88, 88, hot, dry. Few days after that, 19th and 20th, bam, 28, frost both mornings. Follow that again, heat wave. That up and down cost us our entire first flush of flowers. And that first flush of flowers is basically the majority of our harvest. From April 21st to April 30th, 2025, on those 16 beds, we had 100 pounds put away. This year on these beds, I had one. I say one put away. It was 1 pound harvested total. It was abysmal. I'm not the only one in this area. My neighbor who actually looked at the beds with me, she's had the same experience on hers. Down the street, same thing. And all three of us garden in different ways. We irrigate differently, we fertilize differently, we have different plants, but we all have the same results. Non-existent berries. To give you an idea of what the patch looks like, this is what they look like here in the heat of the day. I still have plants that are very upright. You can see some flowers. Unfortunately, those flowers, as good as they look, are probably going to fail. Why? Because today is 90 degrees, and it's going to be 90 degrees for the next 3 days. And that temperature is typically, by what I'm reading, too warm for plants, well, for strawberries to actually have a good, successful pollination and fruit setting, at least on a large scale. So will I see some of these convert to fruit? Probably, but by and large, it's probably going to have a lot more failure going on. So yeah, this year strawberries has been it's been absolutely dismal, a complete waste of space for 500 square feet of garden. And that's going to lead me into the idea that next year, if this goes on, I might have to keep cutting back my strawberry production, because the idea of crawling around in October to plant these things and then in the late part of April to mid-May harvesting next to nothing does not seem like a good use of space. Now, we're going to continue this theme with another plant, my blackberries, of which things are going to be better. However, I've told you numerous times on this channel before that one of my favorite varieties, if not my favorite variety of blackberry, is the Primark Freedom. It is a primocane bearing variety, which means first year canes. In the September-November time frame, you'll get a bit of a harvest. Those same canes the following year, in the spring, mid-spring, you're going to get a really nice harvest of berries for that season. I like the second year harvest better than the first, but it is early flower setting. And this plant here should be loaded with fruit, and it is next to nothing. All of these flowers, which were setting around the time that the strawberries were setting, the strawberry flowers that failed, are now doing nothing. I looked at my video from last year. I have a couple of berries here and there. My video from last year, I showed this plant. It was a garden tour on May 25th. This plant was loaded with fruit. I needed to get out that same day and harvest. It was beautiful. This one, epic fail. However, if you look at his next door neighbor, all of that flower was being created after that really aggressive up and down weather, and he's absolutely fine. Another variety here, absolutely fine. Different variety here, again, still fine. But anything that was set during probably that 10 or 15 day period in April got brutalized. And to that end, everything that was setting during that time frame is not going to yield pretty much anything. So what does this mean for me going forward? It basically means that, like I said, I'm going to have to reassess every year what's going to grow in my region and what is probably going to grow worse. Are strawberries going to be a thing for me going forward? For the foreseeable future, I'll still have beds. Am I going to have 8 next year? I don't know. I mean, is this up and down going to continue going forward? The science says yes. We're probably going to get more erratic as time goes on. I'm less concerned about the rainfall issues that we're experiencing in this area and also worldwide. We know that's getting wonky really fast. We are now officially in a freshwater deficit as a planet. If you haven't actually read up on that, take a look at that. That's pretty unnerving stuff. But for the backyard gardener like me, I'm less concerned about those because of the way I manage my soil, but I am concerned about what's going to happen to the above ground foliage based upon the weather. So am I going to grow strawberries again? Yes, I will. I'm going to probably dial back to 6 beds because I don't want to sacrifice all of that space to a crop that is going to underperform. Because right now, if I had 6 beds, 2 of those beds that are empty, I could throw watermelon into. And I know watermelon if I had it in the ground right now, is going to produce a ton of fruit into the summertime versus those strawberries, which are producing next to nothing. So yeah, not all is great coming out of the garden at all times. And this is something that if you get into the growing game, you're going to have to get used to. No matter what you do well, sometimes things are going to push back against you. And at that point, you have to learn from that experience. Are you going to keep doing the same thing over and over and hope that things like the climate, again, maybe sort of change in your favor? Or are you going to hedge your bet and change the direction of your growing? I go with the latter. I do change the direction in which I'm growing because I don't want to bet on a stable climate when all indications say that it is not going to be having the same level of stability that we've had in the past. So with that, I hope you enjoy what you saw today as much as you can enjoy. I hope you got something out of this today. And if you're going to get into growing, this is an opportunity for you to see someone who's got a little bit of experience failing on a pretty large scale. So feel better if something you do doesn't quite work out, because it happens to all of us. And you just have to learn from that experience. So in the meantime, I hope the next one I bring to you is a little bit more positive, and it probably will, because I'm hoping it's going to be a garlic harvest. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Take care.